Welcome to Paw Print Academy, your blueprint to raising better dogs. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your host for this journey. I've got my trusty co-host here, Brianna.
Hello.
And together we're bringing you real-world training insights built on leadership, structure, and proven methods. We record this podcast with live clients on the line in one take with live, unscripted questions and answers. At the end of the day, this podcast is a lot more than just teaching your dog to sit or stay. It's about building trust, creating calmness, and becoming the kind of leader your dog truly needs. We do that with our 3-pillar method of trust, obey, and perform. Together, we'll show you how these 3 pillars shape every step of training. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, episode 33, Kids and Dogs. Rules every family should follow. Welcome to the episode 33.
Yeah.
Welcome.
We're so deep.
Tonight, we are talking about kids and dogs, and we can't really bring a dog on the show because they don't talk too much, but we have a kid.
Yeah.
So we have Nathan, who is Brianna's son. And he is 12 years old. And say hi, Nathan.
Hi.
There
Hello.
you go. Here he is. And so we're going to be talking about kids and dogs tonight and different rules and things to follow. With rules, so where did this come from? So I got a story or message or whatever you want to call by one of our listeners here who was talking about in response to actually our last episode about outside activities and meeting strange dogs. And we made a comment about how dogs are, owners will inevitably say, "Oh, my dog's friendly."
Yeah.
And sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. And a lot of times it's not that people are trying to like cover up the fact that their dog's not friendly. They just genuinely don't know whether they just don't know what to look for.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know. And so that story was this. I'm going to tell it. So the message that came in was it's from a listener of a previous generation where they used to walk to school, and we don't do that so much anymore. But they had about a mile that they walked to and from school, and they were in the 3rd grade and walking home from school with a friend who lived nearby, although their house was a mile away. A German Shepherd was tied up outside a house, and since I had always loved dogs, I asked if the dog was friendly, and was given a resounding yes, very friendly. So I went over to pet the dog, who had been sitting quietly the whole time as we walked into the yard. 3 seconds later, he went for my throat, I guess, and I was now walking home bleeding from the edge of my mouth and under my chin.
Oh my gosh.
I was fortunate that the dog was at the end of his tether, or things might have taken a really bad turn. And I was also fortunate that my mom was an RN, and as I walked in the house bleeding all over my hand and shirt, she looked at him and was like, "Okay, what now? Here we go." Mm-hmm. But that story came in and reminded me of the fact that we should also talk about how kids and dogs can be a completely different turn of events.
Yeah.
And it's
definitely
not
2 different creatures.
right. And on that front, right, dogs don't typically interact with adults the same as they interact with children.
Oh yeah, definitely not. They know
Pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're just aggressive to kids or that they're not to adults, but the way a certain dog, choose any dog off the shelf and point it at an adult or a kid, and you're probably going to get 2 situations or 2 behavioral profiles
Yeah.
between the two. That's what we're saying. And so on that front, the concept for tonight is that we're going to talk about safe and successful relationships between kids and dogs. And in our expertise, we believe that those relationships are built through supervision, structure, and clear rules. Not just assuming because the dog has never done anything that they're good with kids.
Right. And we always go back to, cool, when do you leave your kid at home alone? Nathan? When have you been left home alone? At like what age?
Probably around 12.
Right.
Maybe
because
11.
Why?
Just like, so I'm like trusted.
Right.
age.
The maturity factor,
Yeah, it's
right?
mainly
You can make sure that you are trusted in the house to control the situation, call if you need help, and that's what determines whether you're left home alone, not your exact age necessarily.
Right. So we always sound, that's the wrong word. We always say in lessons that we do with clients in their homes, we always say that the moment that you can leave a dog at home is the moment that you believe that their maturity will meet your expectations.
Yep.
And so I say that real quick now because I've said it so many times, but I get the question all the time. Well, when can I leave my dog alone? Well, when can I stop putting them in a crate? Well, when can I this? When
Right.
can I that?
When
The answer
can
is
you
always the
trust it?
same.
Yeah.
When their maturity meets your expectations.
Yeah.
If your expectations are high, it's going to be longer.
Mm-hmm.
If your expectations are low, it'll be a lot faster.
Yep.
That is the same way that we deal with children because there isn't even lawfully, I think each state probably has their different like rules and laws on this,
Yep.
right? But in general, the concept is sound, which is when your child meets your expectations, meaning don't burn the house down, do the right things, make good decisions, be able to dial 911, be able to handle slight emergencies, call me if there's any issues. And do you start by leaving them overnight?
Right.
No, you don't. No one does. No responsible parent that I know ever goes, ooh, first time I'm leaving my kids. Bye. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? But they start with, hey, I'm walking to the mailbox. Hey, I'm walking down the street. Hey, I'm going for a walk. Right? These are the things that start, right? These are the things that start a relationship of trusting someone not in your presence. Then it proceeds to maybe a grocery store trip or maybe a this or a that or whatever it is. But it always starts slow and then it builds from there. Well, this is the same concept for dogs and kids.
Yeah.
But when we see catastrophic, crazy events that transpire between dogs and kids, inevitably, it's always followed by, oh my goodness, they've never done that before.
Yeah.
Well, of course they've never done it before because if they had, you probably would have reacted or you probably would have got your dog training or you probably would have increased additional structure. So you probably would have done all sorts of things different had your dog done that before.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times with dogs and kids, it starts off pretty subtle. Because it's either a puppy with a kid, which is always chaos, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or it's a dog that you just got that you're unfamiliar with that you should be keeping separate from your kid to begin with. Because if you don't know the dog, then the dog cannot get to learn a child in the process.
Yeah. And most dog bites involving children, they typically happen in familiar environments with either dogs that the family already trusts or a situation that the dog or that the family goes, oh, this will be fine because it's just like this other thing that I've seen or experienced.
Right.
We're usually also not talking about a situation where you got a brand new rescue dog, you rescued a dog from a shelter, you brought it home, and then you immediately put your kid's face down in front of the dog. That's usually not what we're talking about.
Right. So when it
Because
comes
we're not
to,
really talking about uneducated or like just completely, what's the right word for it? Just irresponsible type owners, right? We're talking about responsible owners who don't have any desire to do anything different.
Right.
But
I think my thing with this podcast in and of itself, right, is I want to zone in on what questions like kids have, which is why Nathan came on the podcast, for what questions like kids have for people when you're owning a dog, right? Like kids have questions, and I think a lot of times like it's not presented that way. But like, what are some questions you would have when it comes to like owning a dog and having a dog like in your presence without anybody present in that factor?
Yeah. How do you know if a dog actually likes you or just tolerates you?
Do you want to answer that one, or do you want me to go for it?
yeah, go for it.
Right. So I think a big thing with us is we go with like the rule of threes, right? So when you go to pet a dog, right?
Yeah.
If you know the dog, are you petting the dog incessantly, or are you going 1, 2, 3 and then relaxing? Because a dog that wants more pets will always come back to it, right?
Yeah.
They show you that they're kind of like, oh, that's something I'm asking for, or I'm not.
Yeah.
And so when we teach dogs and people to kind of coincide with maybe they're reluctant, maybe they're not, it comes down to, does the dog show desire for that? Because if you're petting a dog and you go 1, 2, 3, petting a dog, and then I stop, if the dog comes back, there's a obvious language of, hey, let's do that again. If the dog walks away, then we always teach kids and adults the same of, hey, let the dog walk away at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. We're working on it. So I think next up is we talk about kids unintentionally creating pressure on a dog, to which when the dog goes to walk away and children chase the dog, that turns into unintentional pressure on the dog, in which the kid is then chasing, and that also brings into the dog then running away when we're playing the catch me if you can game, right? That's a whole entire process with a dog that kind of runs away at the point where you're going after the dog, and then it turns to a whole chase game.
Right. Sometimes our interactions with dogs can accidentally be interpreted as a play when the dog was actually just trying to get away for a little bit. And obviously that doesn't really factor into our story about the listener that got the dog bite. But we've got to break this down in different situations first. So before we talk about the random, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this happened situation that I think everyone's probably seen a video on Facebook or YouTube about, let's talk about how just these interactions, they can lead to this pressure that the dog feels, we don't. So dogs communicate discomfort long before they initially bite. And a lot of times adults even, not just kids, but adults even miss the warning signs. The way that the dog puts their ears back when they're receiving pets is very similar to how a dog puts their ears back when they're stressed. The way a dog's tail could be wagging could be misinterpreted as playful or that the dog is happy when the wag is actually not, or is like above parallel on the ground. So it's more of a stimulated wag than it is a relaxed, like happy wag. Mm-hmm. And so some of this body language can be misinterpreted as well. So supervision from adults doesn't just mean watching it take place. It also means actively being engaged in the room, not distracted by phones, not distracted by the television, but interacting through that situation. Sometimes the way a child interacts with a dog it's not threatening to the dog, but it is different. The child has a different level of authority or respect or value in the dog's mind, and so they're going to react and deal with that adult differently. So we need to, as the leader of the pack, we need to engage the dog, be present with the dog, and showing the dog, hey, we've got this. We're controlling the situation. And these are things that all kind of add up to making the whole situation better by default.
Yeah.
What's next? So what would you say are the most common mistakes that we typically see or hear when dealing with dogs and kids?
I think a lot of it is like leaving the kids and dogs alone, right? And leaving the kids to monitor the situation involving dogs that don't respect that level of authority.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next point. So children have to learn how to appropriately interact with the dogs. So one thing that my son loves to do with dogs is sandwich them. And so I call it a sandwich because it's hand over the top of the dog and a hand underneath the dog. And Nala, for Nala and Checkers and Gabe even, all of three of those dogs, 3 out of the 4 of our dogs, will tolerate that very, very well. And they love the pets, love the cuddles, and all of that closeness is totally fine for them. But Dexter, the 4th dog in this thing, immediately goes, oh, that's kind of controlling, and then immediately gets mouthy, right? And then he wants to also interact in kind of the same way because Caleb, my son, likes to put his hands above and below and then kind of like what the dog perceives as like trapping them. Well, right. He means it as like, I'm going to pet you. And the dog's like, whoa. What are you trying to do here? What are you trying to pull?
Wrestling cousins.
Right. And so immediately the dog tries to interact with him and he's still in a very friendly way, but in a, I'll interact with you the same way, but with his mouth, because that's what dogs do. So respectful behavior should really be taught as intentionally as obedience training. It can't really be one and then the other, right? We have to be able to teach some of these interactions the same way that we do obedience training.
Yep.
And you can incorporate this into your training where you teach your kids, or when a kid approaches you in public, maybe they haven't been taught this. Maybe they don't know.
Yeah.
And so let's talk through some of those things. All right, so let's go with some rules and how, one, right, we shouldn't really be climbing on dogs. I've seen videos, like my kids don't do this, maybe yours don't do it either, but there are plenty of YouTube videos you can see where like babies or toddlers or even older children are kind of like climbing over or standing over or, crawling around on all fours and end up over top of the dog. Mm-hmm. That is something that we don't allow, right? We're not going to allow anyone, and I don't do it with my own dogs unless I've asked them to be in that place for, training or obedience or whatever. But standing over top of the dog and putting them in a position where they're like trapped is not going to lower the anxiety of any dog. Mm-hmm. It's only going to raise it. Additionally, we don't recommend that you ever let children disturb dogs when they're eating or sleeping. Right? Even just sleeping on the couch, being, oh, they're so cute. Oh, they're so fluffy. They're so whatever. Those things, you don't know how the dog is going to react to being startled. And this will get into another kind of concept, but it's not that the dog is always is dangerous. It's the same thing as you waking up from a jump or a start and coming up like swinging your arms and stuff. You might accidentally hit someone who's trying to wake you up, and it's the same thing with the dogs, but they only have their mouth to deal with those things.
So Nathan has a question to interrupt you.
What is like the difference between a nice dog and a safe dog?
Because you just mentioned, right, like a dog being safe versus nice, right? And so in the reference of Dexter,
predictable. That's my answer.
Okay.
Right? So a dog that is predictable in the way they're going to react is a much safer dog than just a nice dog. Mm-hmm. Right? So when a dog that even a dog that is going to growl, right? Typically a dog that growls at a kid when a kid approaches or tries to pet them or something like that, and the dog like growls and moves back, yeah, I would take that over a nice dog that doesn't ever growl but goes from 0 to 100 real quick.
Right, because what's crazy is Dexter's never growled at anyone or anything unless he's playing on the tuck pillow.
Right. But Dexter loves to get mouthy, right? Mm-hmm. That's in his breed. That's in his genetics. That's in all of those things. He's a subbreed of Malinois. Mm-hmm. But the concept of nice and safe, right? I would not characterize Dexter as a nice dog, simply because he's not always nice. Sometimes he's a jerk, right? But I think that he's very safe in terms that he's not going to be aggressive. He's not going to bite. He's not going to all of these things. But that doesn't mean that I'm also going to just turn him loose and leave him unsupervised with the kids, because his mouthiness or his pawing or his whatever, he could very much accidentally hurt our human form, right? Our flesh, skin, we have lots of soft places and things, and the way he interacts with the other dogs can be significantly rougher than the way that I would allow any dog to interact with a human, right? We don't allow dogs to put their mouths, we don't allow them to put their mouths on people. Now, do they sometimes? Yes. Do they get mouthy? Yes, absolutely. Do I allow that? No. Do I correct that? Yes. I will not allow my dog to just be mouthy on my arm, because that represents a slippery slope towards something that I never want my dog to just be comfortable just chewing on human ever.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't encourage it. We don't allow it.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Nathan?
Yeah. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Do dogs know when kids are smaller and weaker?
I mean, I think so.
Right. Does Dexter treat you differently than he treats us?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why?
I think, yeah, go ahead.
Why?
Probably because like the power difference.
Right. He can for sure sense that you're shorter. Your levels of, so dogs can sense like testosterone in a human. They can sense, size, obviously, weight, different things. So yeah, for sure they can definitely sense when kids are not in charge versus in charge. But that doesn't mean that you can't change it for the better by showing, hey, I'm just as much a figure as the adult is, by using, a leash just like we do and things like that.
Yeah. Makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the last thing that we really don't allow is we never allow children to play chasing games. And so there's a reason for that. Smaller kids automatically look more like prey than larger adults. And that might seem super crazy for someone to, for me to like point at and be like, this is the reason. But it alludes to some other reasons, right? When someone who doesn't have the same level of respect or the same level of the same level of authority in the house is interacting with the dog like or similar to prey animals, it automatically can translate to this chasing prey drive without the dog really treating the person like prey, but more mimicking the way that two dogs would play together while they're chasing. We typically look for good interactions to be defined as where they are transferring authority, or they're transferring that prey drive back and forth, where one dog is chasing one dog, dog A is chasing dog B, then the role reversal comes into play and dog B is now chasing dog A. That's a healthy chase game. Mm-hmm. But inevitably, what we end up with is that dogs end up chasing children, and children might start with the chase game, but the dog almost always finishes it.
Yeah. Because
the dog ends up a little rougher than the kids are willing to be. And so we don't get a full role reversal in that interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have something else to add on that? It looked like you were.
No, I don't think so. I was just.
All right. So teaching children how to calmly invite interactions also creates a safer and more predictable relationship between the child and the dog. So what we want to invite is children interacting with the dogs in calm and predictable circumstances. So I don't allow my dog to interact with the child on their place bed. I ask that the kids release the dog from place, then interact with them, and then move the dog back to their place bed. By doing that, we create a predictable situation where the dog is not in a situation where they can't escape. They're on place. I've told them to be on place. So either they're going to be interacted with against their will, potentially, right? The child is approaching them. They can't leave because I've told them that they have to be on place. And now you have a child interacting with them, and maybe they don't even want to be interacted with. Maybe they do, but maybe they don't. This is the concept that we're going to get into about that story. Not all dogs want to be interacted with in that moment where the child is interacting with them. But if the dog has been told or feels forced to be in a certain situation, a sit, a down, a stay, a place, something like that, how does the dog get away? Well, they don't.
Right. They don't, because the dog is being trapped in that situation. And I think that goes back to what Nathan was asking me earlier.
Like, what's the difference between playing and annoying a dog?
Because, right, that's what it goes back to is, are you annoying the dog or are you trying to interact with them?
Yeah. What do you think the most, so let's just break it down and be real direct with it. What do you think the most important rules that every child should learn around dogs is?
I think place is not a place to interact. I think that's my number one. If a dog is not coming to interact with you, you shouldn't be interacting with the dog.
Yep. I like that. I don't encourage children to pet dogs on their head or in their face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's another one. I go just below or just at the shoulder blades and back. Right? Just a nice, just like you touch the dog, small pet, and we use the 1, 2, 3 method. Right? Pet them for 1, 2, 3, and walk away. By doing that, you create a situation where the dog was able to be pet, they interacted with you, and then you left the situation. They didn't have to leave. And they didn't have to create a situation where they had to push you away, right? So both of those things really important. Dogs really need boundaries and they need decompression time away from children. Children typically invite excitement, right? Just the way that kids interact, just the way that they have their energy, just the way that their hands move, right? Everything moves fast for a kid. And some dogs will see that and that immediately turns on their prey drive. That immediately turns on their excitement. So we recommend that crates and place beds and structured downtime be introduced in order to reduce that stress accumulation. We want to get to the point where dogs can be put into those situations. Maybe we allow them to interact with a child for just a short amount of time, and then we create that distance. And what happens is that dogs see that kids they come up, they get some pets, and then they go away. And that shows the dog that they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to do anything special to get the child to stop. Maybe they love kids. That's fine. Then we're not talking to you, right? But we're talking about the dogs that you either just don't know or you're just not 100% sure about. Yeah. We put in additional structure, we put in additional safety, and then we work through it slowly until we're very sure how a dog will react. But the concept of simply allowing a strange child to walk up to your dog without any prompting, without any conversation, and pet your dog, get in your dog's face, is a recipe for disaster and, quite frankly, irresponsible insanity. You cannot do that. Right. That is irresponsible of you as a dog owner. I'll say it.
Yeah, and I think I've always been really strict on Nathan, especially since you don't grow up thinking about your dogs being aggressive, right? And I don't think I did either until I jumped into the dog training world of, hey, man, this dog is not like very nice.
Some dogs are wired different.
Yeah. And so you see that, and I think last week I heard somebody go, man, it's crazy how you respond so differently to a dog barking. I'm like, yeah, I do, because the dog wasn't barking until now.
Yeah.
So why is the dog barking now? They're not just doing it because. There's always a reason. And I think we've always gone back to the fact that, like, dogs are so easy and they don't require training and we can take them wherever. But we're not in that day and age anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard thing to accept as a society, with all these dogs that don't agree with or comply with going out in public and doing all these crazy things that we ask of them. But we can still ask that. We just have to understand the dog first.
Yeah. Another question that I like to ask owners is, what is the upside here?
Yeah.
So someone walks up to you and they're like, hey, can I pet your dog? Are you allowing that interaction because that's a positive for your dog? Or are you allowing that because it's some sort of like bragging rights for you? And when this is a situation that you really feel strongly that you want to allow, but you want to allow it because you want that dog to like people.
Yeah.
You want people to love your dog, and you want people to say, oh, look how good my dog is. Oh, wow, that dog is so great. Then you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And when you do anything for the wrong reason, a lot of times you're going to end up with the wrong result.
Right.
So in general, I don't even allow people to pet my dogs that like pets and that like people, because there's no reason for it. It's not a net positive result for the dog.
It's not.
That person, that child, that whatever is never probably going to see that dog again.
Yeah.
And your dog's never going to see them again. And that's okay, but that's normal. And if they never see that person again, what is really the reason that we're letting them pet? Because this concept of socialization is blown way out of proportion. Socialization is not allowing, putting your dog in a down and then letting random people walk up to it, take its space, and own its personal like bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should all parents teach their kids to ask permission to pet dogs?
I think so.
Right, because why not?
I don't think that anybody should walk up to. I mean, I think that
because if you
most adults should ask permission.
Yeah, and right, that's the thing is kids,
and it doesn't
adults,
happen.
it both of them should happen, because I think that's the concept of adults think that they can do it because they're adults, right? And they're like, I know what's responsible.
All dogs like me.
You don't in the dog world. You have no idea if a dog likes you. Gabe doesn't like anyone except for us.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to come pet him, he's not having it. And that's fine. I'm fine with Gabe not letting anybody pet him besides us, because that's who he is. But if a dog is like, yeah, let everybody pet me, that dog's not paying attention to you.
Right.
For sure.
Right. And so that's the net result that I was talking about, right? Is it really a positive result? Because when your dog is checked in to someone else being the valuable person, and then there's more people available to pet them, what are the odds that they're just going to transition back from, cool, that lady is done petting me, now I'm super focused on you again? Or are they looking to the next person to come over and give them that overstimulation? So The last little piece of this that I'd really like to cover is that the dog should not view children as litter mates, right? They're not
That's
equals.
the hard one, right?
Right?
Playmates. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of kids, they never develop that any bit of authority with the dog because either they do everything completely different because we don't actually teach our kids how to train with or use marker words the same way, treats the same way, treat delivery timing, variable ratio rewarding.
Yeah.
These concepts, we don't actually teach them. We're just like, yeah, give them a treat because we're like, cool, look how happy my son is and
Right,
look how
but
happy the dog is.
Do we do that with you, Nathan? Do you get to just tell the dogs whatever, whenever, without treats or with treats or any of it?
No, usually you guys tell me when to do stuff.
Right, and if
And
you
I
do
ask
it
if I
wrong,
can.
we're like, hey, that's not the right marker word, bud.
And the reason that we do that is because the dog has to see consistency.
Yeah.
And if they see consistency from handler to handler, from owner to owner, the dog understands.
Right,
They
which
get
is
it.
why Dexter can get a bark collar put on by me or Ryan or Nathan. And Caleb's the fun guy. So
Right,
sometimes,
Caleb's just super fun.
yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Mostly no, because he's the fun guy.
Right, he's the
playmate.
Right. He
likes
is
to play.
viewed as a litter mate.
Yeah, because he
Because
likes
it's like,
to play.
right. And he moves real fast.
And he's got
And
the
he
magic
loves
fingers.
it. Right. Loves it.
All the things.
And
But
Dexter
that's
loves
fine.
him.
Right.
And loves
Yeah,
to play
loves
with him.
But he's like, we're gonna wrestle, man. You're not putting a collar on me. We're
Right.
wrestling.
Yeah. You're not here to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
We're here to play.
And so if you want different behaviors from a dog, you have to display different things. Nathan is 12, and sometimes he has to go, no, instead of no, because
Yeah, sometimes
at
he doesn't
12,
listen to me.
right, because at 12, you don't have that deep authority that a dog listens to. And if you want it, you have to make it happen. And Dexter, for sure, sometimes, like, I watch them on the camera when we're not home, and it blows my mind that Dexter respects your authority sometimes. But you handle him responsibly. You don't handle him all the time like a 12-year-old, right? Because
Yes.
you know the authority that he takes. Because he's not going to goof around with you. He's like, I'm 85. I weigh almost as much as you.
Yeah, because
I'll wrestle
he's
with you.
tried to tackle me, and
Right. And he's like, I'm not playing. I'll either tackle you or you're going to tell me what to do.
yeah.
So the kids at that point, like, we let them know, like, you have a decision to make. You either want to handle the dog or you don't. And you don't have to handle the dog.
Right.
That's never a requirement. But we leave it up to the kids whether they are willing to take on that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, hey, do you want to do this? And if they're like, no, we don't want to do that.
Right.
Cool.
Then don't make them.
Then don't make them.
That's fine.
But if they're willing to take that on, they have to do it the correct way also. It can't be hey, it's this way with one person, it's this way with another.
Right. So tonight, Caleb was feeding the dogs, and we had a whole bunch of dogs all in the living room, all on different place beds. And he was releasing them one at a time in order to go eat their food. And so all the dogs are super
That's tough.
excited.
Yeah.
It is tough.
That's a tough one.
They're all super excited. They all want to run into the garage space, into their individual
Dinner.
kennels and get dinner.
Yeah.
And so he would say break and to a specific dog, a name and a break, and maybe two of them would go.
Yeah.
Right. And I kept being on him. Nope. You got to go get that one and bring them back. And it's not because it's just being hard on him. Oh, nope. You didn't do it right. No, it's a hard situation. And
Because they don't want to listen to
right,
him.
because but that's how you build that. No, you don't get to go and eat. You still have to follow the same rules.
Right. If they can catch him in time. They have to be old enough to catch him in time.
Right. So obviously you've got to use your best judgment for when
Yeah.
their maturity meets your
Right.
expectations. However, teaching a child how to interact with the dog in the same level of authority that you have is important.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, your dog will view them as an equal,
Yep.
not in a position of authority.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? We're going to move on to listener projects.
Nope.
I don't think
fine
so.
here.
Cool. All right. So for tonight, we'll wrap this up with our listener projects. Number 1, family rule meeting. So sit down as a family and establish some clear dog interaction rules. If you have kids, this is for you. Discuss with your children what should and should not go on and happen around your dog. Keep the rules simple, repeatable, and enforced consistently by all the adults in the home. You have to be on the same page. If you're not, your dog will seek out who is the weakest link and then will be opportunistic and they will figure you out. Dogs are incredibly good at this.
So
They will figure out who is not going to keep them or hold them accountable, and they will go to them. All right, number 2, structured calm time. Implement one daily calm routine involving both the children and the dog. Now, this could be you put them on place for 5 minutes, then you release the dog quietly, and they get some pets, and then they go back on place for another 5 minutes. That could be the whole interaction. But you need to establish calmness because overstimulation and a chaotic household creates anxious dogs. We've got to avoid that. So this, like some examples here, we can do it during like a family dinner, right? We could do a calm leash walk together, or just some sort of quiet, supervised interaction session like I was talking about between place sessions, where the dog gets a few pets and then goes back to place. But they need to start seeing that the child is not just a plaything. It's not just an equal, fun, super exciting buddy.
Sibling. Yeah.
Right. And then finally, reward that calm behavior from both the child and the dog, right? Let your kids know that they're doing the right thing too, right? Hey, good job. You did a really good job of keeping calm and keeping your hands where the dog can see them and not, waving them wildly. The goal here is predictability and emotional stability with the dog, right? The more that we relax into this, the better off we're going to be. All right. So with that, we are going to call it a night. Quick little piece here. We are at 946 downloads. We are real close to 1,000. We're almost there. We're going to keep going with it. And a quick plug for the Paw Print Academy app. If you would like to be involved with it, it is a free app. There's some courses in there and things that you can get. It's $12.99 a month in order to get access to all of the different courses and every feature that's in the app. However, you can get 90% of it for free. Get in there, use the logging features, use the AI the more that you build your profile on your dog, the more stuff that you put in there, the more accurate the answers are that you ask it. Go in there and generate your own weekly, your own weekly plan for your specific dog. Take advantage of all of the free stuff. You go in there and go into Vet Vault. Take all of your vet records. Just snap pictures of your vet records, upload them in there. It'll generate reminders. It'll tell you when your rabies is due. It'll tell you when your DHPP is due, when the next time that you need leptospirosis. All of those things, right? All of the things that you're like, man, I can't remember when that is. It'll tell you it'll give you all the contact information right off of, it'll scan it right off of the paper from your vet's office. It'll give you the doctor's name, who you saw, the phone number to the clinic. It'll give you driving directions if there's an emergency. All of those things are totally free. So take advantage, use the app to help you train your dog. It's at thepawprintacademy.com. It's a web app, so it doesn't even require a download. You can use it on your phone, use it on your PC, use it on a laptop, doesn't matter, tablet. Yeah. It works on everything, Mac, iOS, Android.
Yeah.
All right. That is our shameless plug for the night. Go on there, and also you can reach out to us through the app. There's a whole forum. Totally copied it off of Reddit. Used all of the same concepts, right? You can post on there in the community and ask questions. Ask questions from other dog owners and see what else is going on. It is totally free for you. So thepawprintacademy.com. Love to see you in there. Let us know how we're doing. With that, I will bid you good night. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is episode 33, and we'll sign off with that.
Good night.
Good night.